In our previous videos, we went over the divine attributes and briefly explained these 6 different models of God. In this video, I'm going to go over the first of these models, which is called classical theism. Classical theism is one of the older views of God. This is the view of thinkers like Augustine, Thomas Aquinas, and Catholics as well as Protestant scholastics. The core of classical theism says that God is timeless, strongly immutable, absolutely simple, and impassible. Classical theism would also accept other attributes such as omnibenevolence, omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence. And finally, that God does not depend on anything else other than himself. He has no location or temporal extension. God is strongly immutable if God cannot undergo any intrinsic or extrinsic change. And God is simple if he lacks any and all metaphysical complexity or diversity. On absolute divine simplicity, all of God's attributes are identical to each other. With divine simplicity, we could say that God is purely actual, meaning that he has no properties and is purely simple. On classical theism, God is experiencing pure, uninterrupted joy. He cannot experience any change other than undisturbed joy. And given divine simplicity, God's knowledge is identical to his power, which in sort is identical to his essence. And so the act of sustaining everything in existence is identical to his act of knowing all things. Now, within classical theism, there are different views when it comes to God's relation to the universe. Some classical theists hold to a presentist theory of time, whereas others may hold to some sort of eternalism. But regardless of these views on classical theism, God is an absolutely simple substance who is absolutely perfect. God is not a person or a being. God isn't a simple being among other beings, or even a person. Rather, he is the ground for being itself. God isn't a mind. Rather, he is the ground for minds. God isn't a person, and God has no negative emotions because he only experiences infinite, uninterrupted joy. And so these are the very basics of classical theism. In our next video, we are going to go over the basics of what is called neoclassical theism.